Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to you not from a studio in Honeydew, we're here in Peru. Actually, I'm in Peru because I've left Matt and Harry behind. Peru is a country on the west coast of South America. You might remember it from the Dakar. The Dakar's been here a few times and it's mostly desert the whole way through. The reason we're here in South America is for this. It's the KTM Super Adventure 1290 R. Now, what they've done, they've gotten rid of the 1190. It doesn't exist anymore, done with it. And they've replaced it with the 1290. The R obviously means off-road. In KTM, this is all the off-road version. And it's fantastic. And why I love it is because when the 1190 came out, they said it makes 150 horsepower, and that's too much. Nobody can ride 150 horsepower on the dirt. It's impossible. Everyone's going to be killed. Nobody was killed, and KTM have done one better. This is now 160 horsepower. 160 horsepower in an off-road bike, more so 114 newton meters of torque. Not that we've actually used any of that today because we've been riding through some serious mountains, big hills, sand dunes, real technical stuff. And what we actually did, it's got 4 rider modes. One of them is off-road, and in that it produces 100 horsepower. And you know what? We've been riding in that the whole time, 100 horsepower. It's been absolutely fantastic. We've loved every bit of it. And then every now and again we got down into a long plane, simple push of buttons, and suddenly you got 160 horsepower, and then it's brilliant again. Get back up into the mountains, push the buttons a few more, and you're back to 100 horsepower. It's again fantastic. Now, they've changed a few things, more so than just the engine on this thing. If you look over here at the dash, what they've done is they've basically put what looks like an iPad over here. Done away with the old clocks, which were just normal sort of LCD with an analog rev counter. Or was it a speedo? Don't remember. Doesn't matter anymore. And they replaced it with this, a big digital dash, which is also works fantastically. Even when it's dusty, I'm not sure how they did it. They explained it to us. I don't remember. I didn't quite understand. But when it gets full of dust, you can still see it perfectly, and that's amazing. Something else they've done is they've changed the controls, where previously you had to go into the menu. To turn the traction control off, for example, you had to go into the menu, sub-menu, sub-sub-menu, section B, paragraph 4, section 5. Push a button a few times, and eventually, once your mates have buggered off for 20 kilometers, you eventually turn the traction control off. Now you can do it on the fly. You can do everything on the fly, and it's absolutely superb. Other quick things, the front suspension. Now, on the 1190, it was okay, except it was a bit soft. As soon as you went off-road, you tended to bottom out a bit. Now, I realize I bottom out more than most people, but even the small guys that I speak to, they bottom out quite a bit. They seem to have fixed this. They've got these WP front forks. They're based on the bikes, the ones used in the Enduro bikes, and they've hardened them up a lot. So now, yeah, they still bottom out if you really hit something hard, but generally they work really well. Of course, my off-road riding is unparalleled, and my opinion is absolute. But we thought we'd decide to ask the opinion of a poor little New Zealander we found. We're very pleased to have with us now, Mr. Chris Birch. Now, Chris, you've won. Okay, hang on. You were telling me what you won earlier. I've already forgotten. It was so much. What all is it?
You've had a big day in the sun. That'll be why. Yeah, I've had a reasonably successful career with Enduro and Extreme Enduros. I've won the Roof of Africa 3 times, the South African Enduro Championship, the WFO Championship in South Africa as well. What else? The Red Bull Romaniacs.
Yeah, that little Romaniacs race.
Yeah, that's my big one. That's my favourite one. I think 7 or 8 times New Zealand Enduro champion. So, yeah.
So you can ride a motorbike. That's what you're pretty much saying.
I'm starting to work the gearbox out. Yeah, we're coming right.
Now, okay, what we really want to talk about are these, the big KTM adventure bikes. Now, we've seen some videos of you doing things. Okay, we'll put it this way. We always see on social media, on forums, people are saying these things are too big, they're too heavy, you cannot ride them off-road. But then we go ahead and we see you doing some incredible things. I mean, they look like trails bikes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a trials bike, but that's kind of been my thing, is sort of trying to show what these bikes are capable of. You know, KTM's pure DNA is off-road. And yes, it is a big bike, but it still has a lot of off-road capability, as you found out today for yourself.
Now, okay, the 1290, you rode the 1190, you did some incredible things in the 1190. Where do you think the 1290 has really picked up where, well, that didn't quite perform?
Yeah, I mean, the 1190 is an amazing bike. It's not as if it doesn't perform, but, you know, KTM just keep lifting that bar in terms of technology and performance. Out of the box, the suspension on the 1290R is a big step up. It has much more much more progression in its travel. You don't get the big clacking, banging noises that the the 1190 used to make. Obviously, more horsepower, more is more. And I think the electronics system now is a lot easier to operate. It's a lot more functional whilst you're riding. And the new dash and all these extra little things just make for a better riding experience.
Now, you also run a riding school pretty much all over the world. How would you tell people how to ride like you?
Well, it's like any sport. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. With the riding schools, we start off with the absolute basics and just try and build a really solid platform and slowly bring it up from there. And like any sort of sport, your fundamentals is everything that the fancy, flashy stuff was built upon.
Now, Chris, you lived in South Africa for a year or two. Any chance of coming back?
I really hope so. I had a great time in South Africa, made a lot of friends, and it was a great experience for me and for Monica. At the moment, my calendar is very full, like a strange situation for me, but to be booked out right until the end of the year. But I hope that it's not the last I've seen in South Africa, because that place, it gets in your blood.
Okay, last question. How do you think this bike will do? And you've ridden in South Africa before. How do you think this will do there?
Yeah, I never really got the chance to ride big bikes that much in South Africa, and it's definitely something I missed out on, because the terrain in South Africa is ideally suited to these bikes. You guys have so much freedom and so much space. That's what the big girl needs to roam.
Great. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Birch.
Don, I've never met him, this Chris Birch fella, but I don't like him already.
No, I don't like him. I mean, he's just so naturally talented. And even though he's a nice guy, it's impossible to like someone like
yes,
that.
Yes, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
It's just deeply, deeply unfair. Peru looks amazing.
Peru it's Namibia, but more mountainous.
So basically, it looked like the ideal place to ride a new adventure bike.
It's fantastic.
I can tell that you absolutely loved the new model. I do want to pick up on this. It's a 160 horsepower off-road bike, but they've given you a 100 horsepower button. Now, I know you're about to rip into me, because I always think 160 is too much. Is it too much? I mean,
No.
What is this bike? Is it off-road? Is it on? What is it?
You know what I love? It's a bit of everything. Yeah, it's off-road, very off-road capable, but it's also capable in everything else. For example, in the morning, they put us in off-road mode just when we started out, and we went straight into off-road. And for the first half an hour, I didn't even notice I was in off-road mode.
So this is in the 100 horsepower mode?
Yeah, I was in the 100 horsepower mode, but it still has tons of grunts, because you're riding slow dirt, so you're not using the top-end revs. And it's still got tons of grunt, and I didn't even notice until we got to an open plain, and I was sitting there looking at the dash for the first time because I wasn't terrified, and I noticed it was in off-road mode, so I quickly a few pushes of the button and I put it into sport, because obviously you want to ride in sport.
This is one of the better things now, isn't it? You can actually do these adjustments on the fly.
Quick. I wish it was still just one button, but it is a lot better than the other one. And I put it into sport. We got into the first technical bit of soft sand, and I nearly killed myself. It's just too aggressive, too everything. Luckily, on the fly, I put it back in off-road, and it was, again, great. Then later on, Chris Birch actually told us, put into street mode with the traction control switched off. Now, street mode is still 160 horsepower, but it's a lot softer throttle, so it doesn't come on with such sort of fun. But what I do like is that you can ride it off-road like that. You have off-road mode, which works well, street mode, which, normal street plus off-road. But if you end up on like a tar mountain pass and you want to show off to some superbikes and be Rossi for a while, stick it in sport mode and stick it to the superbikes.
So tell me, I mean, the advances these days, they always tend to be in electronics, don't they? So what's new on this bike really in terms of electronics?
Okay, the previous 1290 that we had, not the off-road one, was already very advanced, and it's got most of that, just a bit more refined. Obviously that dash is spectacular, but one thing I did enjoy, it's got a both-way quick shifter, which until now I've only ridden on superbikes.
Yes.
And the nice thing about it is when you're riding off-road, you've got those oh crap moments where you're coming along and suddenly there's something in the road, you go oh crap. And usually what happens is you go through it and you end up still in 6th gear and you haven't got any power because, you're clenching too hard to use a clutch. But with this, you go, oh crap, bang, bang down on the lever and then you're in the right gear. It's brilliant.
So it works as smoothly as it does on the superbike?
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
Okay, so it's a big model. Well, it's the model for KTM, isn't it? It's going to cost $1 billion rand, is it?
Actually, no. Surprisingly, they've done very well. The base model 1290 R is 215,000 rand. Okay, but that comes with nothing. However, 242,000 rand, you basically get everything you want. It's not everything available, but it's got all the bash plates, the Acropovic exhaust pipe.
Even the exhaust that I saw.
An exhaust pipe. Okay. It's got the quick shifter. It's got all the bash plates
Which
and everything
is
like that. The
actually
tank.
around about the same sort of money as a standard
GS Adventure, yeah. It's the same money as a base GS Adventure. You get the 1290 R with everything you want. Yeah.
I can pretty much rest assured then, Donovan, that this gets a massive thumbs up.
5 stars, definitely.